Hello, my friends. Cupe here, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Reignmakers Fantasy Golf Show, where we're going to focus on building Reignmakers teams for the Zurich Classic. We'll talk some odds, pivots. It's a pretty interesting week. There's basically one power couple at the top of the board. I think it's a pretty interesting week to talk about if we're playing them, where we're playing them, number one, especially for Reignmakers, and number two, how do we get different? I think everyone should just lock in this top pair, but how do you get different? What are some pivots beyond the top pair? I think you can make pivots sort of across the odds board, which makes it a pretty interesting week. We'll talk any 1v1 decisions. I had a couple decisions between core and rare lineups that I was building. If I wanted to use a strong core player up in a rare team that I had, what decisions I made there. So we'll talk through some of that. Any listener questions? Got a couple of questions from people. So shout out to those that fired some questions throughout last week and any other questions that come up during the chat. JM to everyone. Jolly morning to everyone that is hanging out with us. Sergeant Stogie, Josh Allen, TJ. TJ is about to make his drive over to New Jersey to get some lineups entered. Love it. A little bit of a difficulty being in PA, needing to get to the border to play Reignmakers, but we make the sacrifices that we need to make in order to play, get a sweat, have some fun with fantasy golf. Also, spring is officially here. Golf season is in full swing. I played 2 rounds last week, but man, I was dead by the end of the 18th. I was completely out of what I'll call golf shape. So started a little bit of a new workout regime or regiment here this week, and I'm pretty sore. I am very out of shape. So looking forward to getting back into spring and golf shape, getting out there, playing some golf. I filmed myself on a couple of holes, so see if I can put together some funny videos for the Twitter feed, for the engagement farming, for the likes, and for the overall entertainment of all of this. And I was talking to TJ earlier this week. He said he was pretty angry about shooting 81, 82 when he was last out. Said he should have easily shot 76. So I don't know. This soreness, I needed a good excuse. So this soreness is a pretty good excuse. Maybe I'll be able to carry that into the rounds that TJ and I get in over the course of the next couple of months of the summertime. So it should be pretty fun. I'll also note on Monday's show, I saw some comments in the chat afterwards. Monday, TJ and I really try to focus on the show being mostly for our audio only listeners for the podcast feed. So I saw some people saying, hey, why no interacting with the chat? So we certainly will do a lot of interacting with the chat here on the Wednesday show, but Monday, trying to keep it buttoned up, hard to hear and understand and specifically know what is happening in the audio feed if you're not watching YouTube. And hey, the way the world is changing, back to podcasts, people on the road, people coming to and from work or traveling around. So back into the ears of a lot of listeners, or trying to get back into the ears of a lot of listeners. So that's the reason for less chat engagement. But hey, it's the Wednesday show. Going to be a little bit more off the cuff. Want to engage with the chat, want to engage with the listeners. So would love to hear questions, comments, thoughts, anything you have to say. Josh Allen says, went to the range for the first time this season and I'm sore. Yeah, golf shape is definitely a real thing. When you say it out loud, it kind of sounds funny to people. It's like, especially if you're not walking, if you're riding in the golf cart to play 18 holes, it's like, how hard could it be? You're in a golf cart, but there is a lot of muscles that you might not be using, and, getting out there and, being out on the course for 4.5, 5 hours, it takes a lot out of you. So golf shape is certainly a thing, but I'm looking forward to getting back into the swing of things, posting some scores, posting some golf content, and going from there. All right, Zurich Classic, hit on it on Monday, but it's a team event on the PGA Tour. We got a mix of best ball, what I call best ball. There's so many names for it these days. Better ball, best ball. It's basically 2 guys play their own ball, but the lowest score counts. Someone makes a birdie, another person makes a double bogey. It doesn't matter. That double bogey doesn't count. They get credit for the birdie. So on Thursday, we're going to be looking for some really low scores, some 65s, some 60s, maybe even. It's truly 59 watch for some of these guys. This course is gettable. There are birdies out there, and you're going to need to make birdies to make the weekend. And you're going to want to make birdies on Thursday. If you're trying or you're needing birdies on Friday when they move from best ball to alternate shot, which we'll get into that, it's harder, obviously, to make birdies in alternate shot. So alternate shot is the teams will dictate who hits the tee shots on the even holes and who hits the tee shots on the odd holes. And then from there, the player that hits the tee shot, the opposite player hits the second shot, and then back to the player that hit the tee shot to hit the third shot, and so on and so forth, alternating until the ball is in the hole. So Friday is going to be a lot harder to make birdies than Thursday. Thursday, you're going to want to make sure your teams are making their hay. And honestly, if Friday comes and you're needing a lot of birdies, you're going to be wanting to pray to the golf gods because it's going to be a lot harder to make birdies. That said, the field is an interesting one. A lot of comments in and around the industry. Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, the defending champions, the two best players in the field playing together on the same team. They are 3-1 in the betting market to win this thing. I don't think, 3-1 is an absurd number for a golf field. We've talked about it a lot, but there's so much variance in golf that betting somebody even sub 10-1 is pretty asinine. But then you read a lot of the professional picks, you read a lot of the people that, bet golf regularly, they're betting Xander and Cantlay to get it done. They're just the best golfers in this field. I wrote them up in my article as the team that I like the best at the top of the board. If you look at any statistical category, any model that gets run, they are by far and away the best team here. They're both also playing at the absolute peak and tops of their games. Almost nobody is playing better than Patrick Cantlay, especially when it comes to fantasy scoring and streaking and putting birdies together and, not only just finishing tournaments high, but, essentially doing everything possible to score fantasy points. He's just really, really, really in that upper echelon. And then you add Schauffele to that. Ham and eggs are a lot of terms that people use whenever it's team golf. These guys might not even need to be hamming and egging all that much, but if they do, Thursday and Saturday, they could certainly be on 59 watch without a problem. So I think they're pretty hard to fade at the top of the board. I have a Xander core card. I don't have any Cantlay from a Reignmakers perspective. So I decided to play Xander up into one of my rare lineups versus just captaining him from a core standpoint. And this was a week where I took a look at the contests. I typically enter contests on Tuesday night and then make any pivots as needed on Wednesday, Thursday, before everything kind of kicks off on Thursday. But I just entered all of the guaranteed contests this week. I think it's a little bit of a crapshoot. My golfer collection, my collection of golfers isn't necessarily the strongest. So I'm already kind of needing some golf variants to happen. But in general, I just felt that after looking at some of the guaranteed contests last week from the RBC, looking at how people are approaching single entry, I just felt, hey, I'm going to go all in on guaranteed contest this week. So core, rare, and elite, I entered the guaranteed contest. We'll get into the teams that I built, but interested in what you guys are thinking from a contest selection standpoint. I know we talked a lot about the pack party. I just didn't want to play the pack party this week. I've played it the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I've been successful in it. Just haven't had much pack luck. So saving myself the pain of the pack luck. If I miss completely in the guaranteed, I'll maybe be kicking myself that I didn't enter a pack party. But yeah, all guaranteed contests for me this week. That said, let's before I kind of start sharing my teams, I want to talk through the odds board I want to talk through the other teams outside of Cantlay and Schauffele that are out there. Colin Morikawa and Max Homa are the second most popular or second most well-known team. So they're going to garner a lot of ownership. Everyone at the top of the board is going to garner a lot of ownership. I think you need to use golfer 4 and golfer 5 slots to get quote unquote different in the middle and the bottom of the board. We'll talk a little bit about that. Sanjay M and Keith Mitchell, Sahith Theegala, Justin Suh, Siwoo Kim, Tom Kim, Billy Horschel, Sam Burns, and Wyndham Clark, Beau Hossler. Probably the most talked about teams across the industry as one of those, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams winning this thing. I don't see it going beyond them, but it's the kind of tournament where you just are looking for some top 5s or some top 10s from your other golfers to round out fantasy lineups. We're not betting outright bets here. We're using the outright betting market to maybe make key decisions in Reignmakers. But we know, especially to get to the top of the leaderboard in some of these guaranteed contests, you're going to need to get all of your golfers through to the weekend. So that's, need to be one of the top 33 teams. And then even when you get to the weekend, you're going to need to run up that leaderboard some if you're looking to take down that top spot. You're going to need 3 teams in the top 10 with some other strong finishes in order to kind of seal the deal and take this thing home. So I think you're trying to get different in spots 4 and 5. We'll talk about it. I wrote up some guys that I liked that might be a little underowned. A lot of DFS, a lot of the DFS industry is talking about these guys, but maybe they don't translate exactly to Reignmakers. We'll see how ownership pans out. But yeah, I think if you've got the likes of, any of these top teams in your collection, rostering them together, getting different at spots 4 and 5 is the way to do it. And then, captaining sort of just the quote unquote best team that you have here is probably the way to go. I think a couple of things that stood out to me in looking at the data, I particularly, and maybe the industry feels this way too, based on hearing their names a lot, I particularly like Siwoo Kim and Tom Kim and the way they pair up. TJ mentioned this on Monday. Siwoo, just a guy that fires at every flag, likes any shot from anywhere, willing to take on any shot. Tom Kim, a much more steady Eddie kind of golfer, somebody who's going to make pars, someone who's going to be able to be kind of the backstop or the safety net from Siwoo. And, that kind of him and Ha, yin and yang team structure to me makes a lot of sense for the upside there. So I like those guys a good bit. Another team that I like is Wyndham Clark, Beau Hossler. Shout out Rick Run Good. I use a lot of Rick Run Good's data, listen to a lot of his content. Great nugget this week. Wyndham Clark is one of the best fantasy golfers that you can roster in the 2023 season, gaining fantasy points in just about every event that he plays. Therefore, that means he's making a lot of birdies. He's putting together streaks. He's likely got a bogey-free round or 2 in there. Someone who's just able to put up fantasy points. And, will there be some variance? Maybe. But I like Wyndham and Beau together. Beau Hossler, someone whose game was an absolute mess, a month ago, but he's seemingly come on well. He found the putter. When he's putting well, he's playing well. So when you're getting kind of a couple looks at putts and getting to play together as a partner, a way to elevate your game, I like them. I like them a good bit as well. The other person I'll say that I like maybe more than the industry likes is Matt Fitzpatrick. And everyone's kind of discounting his brother, Alex Fitzpatrick. He doesn't play professional. Doesn't have professional golf membership, essentially, doesn't have any access to the PGA Tour, kind of trying to figure out where to play. But if you look at when he does play, he seemingly plays pretty well. I like the element of, the narrative street here for the brothers. Fitzpatrick coming off a win, seems like the kind of guy that just loves golf, is a true golf nerd. And when you're hot, you want to stay hot. And I think he could possibly stay hot. Plus, you add the fact that the better they play, the more opportunities he's going to end up getting for his younger brother, which I think means a ton in terms of just motivation. And it was funny. He was asked a question in interviews this week. how did you end up picking your brother to play with this week? Because the golfers essentially are allowed to pick their partner. And he gave a classic big brother answer. He said, basically everyone in his entire family was pestering him. His mom, his dad, his brother was pestering him to play with Alex's younger brother. So I'm excited for them as a pair. And frankly, a lot of the industry doesn't like them. And maybe it's priced from a DFS standpoint, but I like Matt Fitzpatrick as a golfer. I think he's hitting it great. And I think that only adding another person, especially kindred, can one of your kin can only help things, in my opinion. So we'll see how that pans out, but that's my take. All right, let me share my screen here, and we will get into some other picks that I liked. Let's see what we got here. Bring this up. This is an article I write every week. I kind of highlight some course history. I will give some insights into contest selection. The last couple of weeks, I've been talking about the pack drop. Packs did drop this week, but it's worth noting. I mean, these packs, given they're the same price as packs from last week, they just aren't as good of packs because there are more golfers in Group 4, and therefore they're cheaper on the marketplace, which ultimately brings down the expected value. So I think if you're in need of some golfers this week, shopping in the marketplace versus playing the packs might be a good use case. But, shout out some of the guys in our Discord. Glib was able to get a, elite pack. Someone was selling an elite pack for $40 less than they bought it for. They bought it for $249, wanted to sell it for $209. He picked it up off the marketplace, had a Tom Kim elite in there. And Tom Kim is going to play a lot of golf going forward. So I think, great find. There's still good finds in these packs. Head on over to our site, otmnft.com, navigate to the Reignmakers Pro packs page, and you'll be able to simulate some pack openings across the available packs that are out there to get a sense of what the range of outcomes are. I think that's a pretty good tool to give you an idea of who's in the field, who you're going to potentially be ripping in these packs, and what your upside is versus your downside. So, but anyways, in this article, I'll always kind of give you 3 golfers that I like. I usually do it by odds, kind of the best odds guys at the top tier, the mid-range, and then long shots. This week, Cantlay Schauffele, no surprise. Just everyone's on them. If you got them, lock them into captain. Mid-range, I like Benny On and SH Kim. So Bayong Hunan and SH Kim. And when Benny is on, his only downfall is his putter. And he's pretty on right now. His irons are good. He's playing with SH Kim, and SH Kim has had a bit of a extremely hot or, kind of cold putter, but that up and down sort of yin and yang, as I talked about with Siwoo Kim and Tom Kim, sort of was apparent to me with Benny On and SH Kim. I also thought their price compared to their odds seemed a little off. In my opinion, I priced this based on just the lowest ask of either one of these two. So you could head on over to the marketplace. Benny On is going to play more golf than SH Kim, I think, but SH Kim is going to play as much golf as he can. And I expect that to be a decent number of these events where the fields are weaker and he has a bit more upside in some of those weaker fields. So I like these two as a duo. Again, if they can ham and egg it where, if Ben On plays a bad hole and SH Kim plays a good hole, I think that could go a long way for them. So I like those guys a good bit. And then long shots, I actually bet this Justin Lauer, Dylan Wu, just for fun, plus 10,000. Dylan Wu, by all means, by my account, by my 2 eyes, I've been watching a ton of Dylan Wu over the course of the last month plus, and he's just been fantastic. Has been making cuts, is a birdie machine when he gets on a streak, can make them in a row. I've liked Justin Lauer since the beginning of the year, but man, his game sort of went south. And if he could provide Dylan Wu any help this week, I think these two could definitely make the weekend. Like I said, it's pretty ugly definitely in the long shot range. But when you're looking at plus 10,000, when you're looking at less than $1 for a core, $5 for a rare, I think these guys can round out your teams a good bit. I have a lot of Dylan Wu and Justin Lauer in my collection, so we'll see the lineups that I built and where I decided to play them. But I actually opted to put Dylan Wu in my elite lineup this week. Stand by my takes. I think this is someone who, in a team where I can get different, they're going to be much less owned, I got to assume, in these guaranteed contests than many of the other teams. So I got a little different there. So yeah, I write this article every week, comes out usually Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning at the latest, if I'm waiting for some late breaking news or trying to catch up on my content that I'm taking in to just make it as informed of decisions as possible. So look for that every Tuesday, and you'll be able to get some insights and some nuggets there. Okay, I'm going to navigate here to our site again, otmnft.com, Reignmakers Pro section. Got everything you need, from analyzing players, looking at the marketplace, sniping deals from the marketplace, taking a look at your own collection, and of course, building some lineups. So let's take a look at the lineup builder and where I was focused this week. All right, make sure I'm sharing everything correctly here. Okay, looking good on my end still. All right. So I, from an elite standpoint, only had 4 golfers playing this week: Bramlett, Martin Trainer, Kevin Roy, DJ Trahan. And man, it's a little bit farther down the board than I'd like. And again, this is why I sort of just took this single team, hope to get a little bit lucky, and some of these teams advance into the weekend or play well in the first couple of days to get close to advancing into the weekend. But yeah, Captain Joseph Bramlett, paired him with Martin Trainer and Kevin Roy. Zoom in here. Go. Martin Trainer, Kevin Roy. I played DJ Trahan 2 weeks ago, and man, it was just a mess. Kevin Roy hasn't been any better than DJ Trahan, but I just liked Kevin a little bit better, so I decided to leave DJ out of my elite lineup. And then I went with Siwoo Kim and Dylan Wu. This lineup is already pretty different, but like I said, I really like Dylan Wu. Because I liked him, I was willing to take a stand, and that saves me some guys in the rare teams to build just a better rare team, right? So my decision here was trying to make a determination between using someone like Max Homa or even like Tom Kim or Billy Horschel up here alongside Siwoo in this elite team, or kind of going down to Dylan Wu and saving these guys for a better rare team. I've got a good bit of Justin Lauer, as you can see. So I already kind of have exposure to Dylan Wu and Lauer in general. So I've got them kind of baked in. So I just decided to put Wu up in my elite team, taking a stance on these guys this week. We'll see how that pays out for me, or pays off for me. But that was my decision this week. So that was my elite squad. Again, if you're holding some of the top tier elite players, if you're holding Cantlay or Xander, if you're holding Morikawa or Homa, Sanjay or Keith Mitchell, I think it's perfectly fine to play those guys together and then get different with golfer 4, golfer 5, someone like a Dylan Wu, someone even further down the board, where you like a guy and it just kind of makes sense. Ben Taylor, someone who has had some upside, pretty far down, pretty far off the board. I think this is the kind of week that it's fine to just play the best plays, see where that plays out, just because playing together in teams is just so difficult, and it's going to elevate the best teams and sort of keep everyone in the middle on down. So I wouldn't get too afraid of playing the best plays together. I know, shout out Stogie in the chat. That was a question that he had posed this week and even in previous weeks. Is it better to play kind of all of your guns or top tier guys together, or is it better to kind of spread them across the captain spots? And I think it goes in my opinion, it's a week by week decision. But this week, I'd want to build one power team and get different and maybe only one spot, quite frankly, and let the dupe boys out there try to dupe you. Just bet on the fact that someone doesn't have the exact same collection as you, or they're not building teams, with their cards the same way that you're building them. So that's my take for this week. For a lot of other weeks where it's a full field and there's 145 golfers and we have 100 plus Rainmaker golfers in the field, I think that's where you can maybe pair and couple guys together, a couple like power guys or top guys together. And so maybe you play two of the top guys together and get different in three spots, and just sort of embrace variance and make the cut sweat a little bit more dicey. But if you get 5 of 5 through and one sort of power ranked golfer, sort of best odds golfer misses the cut, you're just going to jump so many teams that try to play guys together. So I think it is a week by week decision, but this week I'm jamming everybody I've got into one team as much as you possibly can. Okay. I'll go down to the rare teams that I built. So I had some interesting rare decisions this week. I actually ended up, see if I can share my DraftKings lineup. So I put together my teams. My process is put together my teams on our site. And then when I go to enter on DraftKings, because we don't have CSV upload right now, I am taking a look and saying, hey, do I like the way these teams look? And would I make any changes? Things like that. So again, I kept my elite team the same: Bramlett, Roy, Trainer for elites, Siwoo, and Dylan. And then I actually built 3 rare teams to all get plugged into the guaranteed contest this week, instead of the 2 that I built on our site. And I played core guys, some strong core guys up in each one of these teams. So we'll go through them. My first one is Homa. I think obviously Homa and Morikawa, second best odds behind Cantlay and Schauffele. So like I said, just plugging the best team into my captain spot there. They'll be pretty popular, but hopefully less popular than Cantlay and Schauffele. So maybe they end up beating that duo and I get some leverage there. So Homa, Horschel and Burns are an interesting duo because Billy Horschel has, by most statistics, been pretty bad this season, but he's won this event twice. He won this event in team play, and he's won this event as a single before it moved to team golf. So he definitely likes this place. There's some history there. I haven't focused at all on course statistics and history this week because the team play elements just, in my opinion, completely outweigh any sort of statistical course matching and history. But clearly he likes the place. So, and the odds reflect it. I believe let's see here. They're the 4th or 5th best odds. Yeah. Plus 2,000 was their initial odds. I don't know what they currently have been either bet up or bet down to, but when DraftKings Sportsbook opened up, they're plus 2,000. So they're the 5th best odds, right behind Siwoo and Tom Kim. And Sam Burns is pretty hot. Won the match play, has played really well recently, and sort of his form is coming back. So I like those guys a good bit. So ended up going Billy. I've talked about Siwoo Kim, Tom Kim already ad nauseum. I like those guys a lot. Paired them in there. Betting on my guys that are lower owned: Justin Lauer, Dylan Wu, betting on those guys. And then I'm playing Xander up here. So my bet is Xander and Cantlay end up top 3. I've got them, but they're not in the captain, and maybe Max Homa and Morikawa can get it done. And the other guys can kind of run up into top 10, top 15 positions. So that's my best, quote unquote, best rare team that I was able to assemble that made sense to me. That is a little bit different here with this single golfer and Justin Lauer, Dylan Wu, with a lot of chalk sort of built in and around those guys. My other 2 teams are one team kind of off the wall, this team up top. One team off a little bit off the wall, which is kind of my leftover cards. So this team: Watney, Landry, Kevin Tway, Carl Yuan, Aaron Rye. My decision was, am I entering this in a guaranteed contest or am I entering it in the pack party? Again, I just decided that I'm fully going into the guaranteed contest this week. We'll see how that pans out. I'll again be pulling down all of the lineups and the contests and analyzing that. And we'll go through that on Monday's show. But yeah, I mean, this lineup is nothing but some leftover cards with a guy that I do like, Aaron Rye, as his core card. Decided to play this up in this team. I think him, and he's playing with who's Rye playing with? He is playing with, I'm blanking on who he's playing with. Another guy that hasn't putted well, David Lipsky, haven't putted well. And that's the reason why Aaron Rye hasn't necessarily been positioning and finishing in the best spots that he can, because his putter has just been cold. He's been hitting the ball great. He was, essentially the first round. He was the first round leader at the RBC. Ended up making the cut, but fell far back on Saturday and Sunday. So I like Rye as a player, and just betting on the fact that the team elements help him with the putter this week. So yeah, a bit of a crapshoot kind of lineup, a leftover lineup with Rye, who I liked a good bit from my core collection. All right, and my last team for rare. Again, I talked about Matty Fitz. I played Matty Fitz up versus captaining any of him in any of my core teams. Tom Hoagie. I like Tom Hoagie and Harris English as a pairing to maybe find something this week. Their games have been pretty bad. Hoagie didn't play well at the Masters, didn't play well last week at RBC, when, as good of a wedge player as he is, you would expect him to play pretty well at the RBC. Plays bad. So he needs a little bit of a change of pace to kind of get back on track. And Harris English has been, rounding back into form slightly, but definitely nowhere near where his game was prior to some of the injury that he had after last year. So I think they're both sort of in a, hey, let's get right kind of spot. So this is a spot where I thought, hey, I'll captain them for rare and move forward. I've got another Justin Lauer that I played up here. Kevin Roy, just decided to play him up because I'm getting a sweat down here in my elite squad. So kind of just double down there on my position. So I'm not sweating the entire field of golfers, kind of sweating a lot smaller subset. So just betting on Roy. And then I had a Russell Knox that I decided to play here. I liked Russell Knox essentially against Watney, Landry, Tway, and Carl Yuan. I went with Russell Knox, has a bit more upside. And that was how I rounded out the rare squads that I had. So, like I said, I used a lot of core guys that I would typically line up together, something like Schauffele, Rye, Fitzpatrick. And the reason I did that is just because the core contests are becoming more and more impossible to win. And I really think I'm kind of just using them as fun, as testing the market, as evaluating where people are playing. But I'm really embracing full-on chaos as needed in these core contests to be able to win. That said, I fully expect that the likes of Schauffele's, Xander's, Horschel's, all of those guys are going to be played together. And I still think you should be getting different in at least golfer 5. At core, I mean, there's 10,000 entries, 10,000 plus entries in this guaranteed contest. There's just so many entries that I think getting different in golfer 4 and golfer 5, and using some of your collection in different ways could make sense. But like I said, maybe this week is a fine week to just play everyone together. So I can see arguments either way, but my take is core. I'm kind of just playing for fun, entering the cards that I have, not really moving these cards at all, because I think the biggest thing that core does, in my opinion, is supplement your rare cards in a way that you're able to build the quote unquote best rare teams. And that's what we've seen people have success with. that's what we've seen people have success with in Rainmakers across each tier. In the elite contest, playing up two really strong rare cards has helped out a ton, and playing up one core card into your rare teams has also helped a ton. So I'm taking on that philosophy. Instead of pairing a bunch of great core players together, playing my core cards up and just throwing darts at the board together in ways that I think kind of make sense at core is my approach. So I won't spend a ton of time on my lineups here. Riley, Zach Blair, Russell Knox again, Chad Ramey, Carson Young, two guys that I think are young that can go really low. So maybe they go super low. I like Nick Taylor a ton. Nick Taylor playing with who's Nick Taylor playing with? He's playing with Adam Hadwin, I believe. Let me confirm that's the case. Where are they at here? Why can't I find them? Yeah, Nick Taylor, Adam Hadwin. I like that pairing a good bit. Adam Hadwin, someone that's played really well. Nick Taylor, someone who has had some serious upside in his game. If you remember back to Phoenix, was in a battle with Rahm and Scheffler, hung in there, so has played really well. Two Canadians, if you're looking for a little narrative street. So I like Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin a good bit. Hubbard played well last week. He's someone that I've liked for a while, especially in fantasy golf, someone where I think him is a card that you can use to kind of quote unquote get different, if you will. So I like him a good bit. Taylor Moore has been playing well, and again, Dylan Wu. So a lot of similar takes from my other teams that I've put together. And like I said, spread my core cards out a good bit. This lineup right here, I will say, Kazire, Duffner, Kang, Thompson, and I played my elite DJ Trahan down here. I mean, this lineup should probably have gone just in a pack party to maybe do something. This lineup is probably just drawing dead. And I think that's an interesting element here of this 10.6 thousand lineups in here. How many are just drawing dead? I'd say, 20%, 10%, something like that of these core teams are probably drawing dead. So maybe there's only 8,000 real entries that could win this thing or could take it down. But this lineup is probably drawing dead. But in Rainmakers, you use your cards. I think that's the biggest thing is use your cards, put them together. Never know what could happen. Golf is a funny game. So embrace the variance and go from there. All right. Oh my God. Poker Pro Eric says Cantlay is still standing over his putt. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit. Talk a little bit about slow play because it continues to be a hot topic in golf. I mean, slow play is just not going to get fixed on the PGA Tour until the PGA Tour decides that, like MLB, they're losing viewers and they aren't able to make as much money for advertisers and commercials and things like that. I mean, Patrick Cantlay answered that question again and will continue to answer the question every tournament that he plays in about slow play from previous tournaments, especially if he ends up in the last group because they're just on television so often. He said, my group has been in position. I've never been warned for slow play, and I'm not sure what anyone wants me to do in terms of playing faster when the group is right in front of us. I have no idea if that's factual. We don't see that on television, but I can only imagine that there would be and needs to be someone from the PGA Tour telling Patrick Cantlay that he's violating the rules in order to play faster. He's going to continue to do what is comfortable for him. It's working. He's at the top of the leaderboard in so many tournaments that, he's not going to change. And he is flat out admitting that he's slow. He was asked directly, are you a slow player? And he said, and I quote, I am a slow player. I always have been a slow player, but I'm, playing within the rules and no one's telling me otherwise. So until the PGA Tour decides that they have a slow play problem, until they decide that 5+ hour rounds of golf and 6 hour rounds of golf and at times is too long, then the players will continue to be in their own comfortable routine. As much as us as fans liked Fitzpatrick and Spieth playing essentially speed golf in that playoff, I don't think we'll get too much of that. On the other end, on the other end of that, Matt Fitzpatrick was quoted this week saying that it is abominable that the tour has 5+ hour rounds in threesomes. He was quoted by saying there should be no way that threesomes in golf take more than 4.5 hours, which I think, by any standard makes a ton of sense. But when you're selling commercials, when you're selling time on air, when people are tuned in, and seemingly people are tuned in, especially to these designated events, the PGA Tour is not going to change. And so we're not going to see anything different. And the bubble of golf Twitter will continue to be outraged by the likes of, Patrick Cantlay's slow play and other things that happen. But in general, it'll just be another thing to talk about that won't have any change on the game until the money in the game changes. All right. I think there was another question that I got from someone. Shout out Barrig. Let me pull the question up here. What did he say in our Discord? If you're not in the Discord, jump into the comments. I'll put the Discord link in the comments below. Also, if you haven't stumbled upon Reignmakers, if you haven't played Reignmakers yet, there's a link in the description below for a free starter pack. Rip that starter pack. A lot of people that are playing aren't happy about it, but you're able to use the starter pack in these core contests with, tons of money at stake. And in golf, you really just never know. So rip open your free starter pack. I gave a play that was 84 cents in order to kind of boost your starter pack up and add to your collection this week for less than $1. Can't play fantasy golf for $25,000 anywhere else, I don't think, for less than $1. So jump on in to Reignmakers and use the link below. Rip open a free starter pack. Grab a John Rahm. Grab a Scotty Scheffler. Heck, I guess this week, grab a Cantlay or a Xander if you're playing this week, and jump into the contest. But Berg asked a 1v1 question. He said, what did he say? He said Thomas Dietrich and Victor Perez as a team, or Joel Damon and Denny McCarthy. Great question. I think it's pretty close. I looked at the odds. Victor Perez, Thomas Dietrich, at least initially, was plus 2,800, and Denny McCarthy, Joel Damon was plus 3,500. So people liked, the odds makers liked Dietrich and Victor Perez a little bit more. I think that could be for a couple of reasons. One, Joel Damon and the Netflix effect. Golf people that bet golf and bet golf casually like Joel Damon from Netflix, want to have some investment in Joel Damon, are going to bet him. And then they give longer odds. So you think that doesn't sort of equate, and maybe they're worse off. But yeah, I looked at the statistics. Damon and McCarthy are a great ham and egg kind of pair. When McCarthy's putting well, he's probably the best putter, or one of the best putters on tour. So, strategic elements like who tees off on the par threes on this course is interesting. So I think you'll see Joel Damon hit a lot of approach shots, hit a lot of second and third shots when possible, and you'll see Denny McCarthy with the putter in hand as much as possible. Whereas I think Dietrich and Victor Perez kind of have more comparable games. When I look, Dietrich, in general, pretty strong golfer throughout the bag, has had a little bit of a rough stint over the course of the last couple of weeks. But in general, think that Dietrich and Perez, combined, maybe have a bit stronger ceilings by themselves than they do coupled together. So I like Damon and McCarthy as a pair, maybe slightly more than Dietrich and Perez. I also think that Damon, given the crafting that is out there, if you're playing core or playing core cards up in rare, Damon and McCarthy will definitely be more popular. I think Dietrich and Perez could be that golfer 4 spot where you get different and go that route. So that was my thought on that 1v1. I put a tweet out and I said, if you could pair anybody with Cantlay and Xander, any other single pair, which most people looking at this question would say, okay, I'll take Homa and Morikawa. So if you had Cantlay, Xander, Homa, Morikawa, or the field, those 4 guys are the field, who would you take? I think it's pretty hard to fade Cantlay, Xander. If I was betting, though, I think a more fun bet would be the field, because then you're kind of just rooting against the top guys. It's hard to defend a title I think it's a pretty fair bet. Those guys plus one other group and even money against the field. But interested if anybody here in chat has a take. And who would you pair? I think I would pair Homa Morikawa just because the chalk and they've got the best odds. But a lot of people like Sungjae Im, Keith Mitchell. A lot of people like Siwoo Kim, Tom Kim, and the course history bros seem to like Sam Burns and Billy Horschel. So interested in who you guys would take there in that bet. So head on over to my Twitter. It's at the real Cupe. Jump into the replies and would love to know your takes. Otherwise, I think that will wrap it. Checking Discord here and seeing if there's other 1v1 questions. Oh, one other note. It looked like, so DraftKings from a Rainmaker standpoint has an achievements page. I didn't know a ton about the achievements. There's a couple things that go alongside the fantasy golf here with Rainmakers that I think is pretty interesting. One, collector score. And every week getting collector score, getting paid out dollars for the cards that you're keeping and where you are ranking on the leaderboards. And listen, it's not massive payouts. It's not anything that, I would be buying based on, the leaderboards for. I'm certainly buying to play in the contests, but in general, I like, the element of there being payouts for holding and for your collection. I'm not as big of a fan into these achievements, I don't think, at first glance. But DraftKings is continuing to reward users that are playing Rainmakers and users that are holding on to cards. Whether you agree with everything that they're doing or not, I think there's always room for improvement. They seem to be listening to the community. I'll continue to keep a pulse on that. But in general, I think they're trying to do something new, innovative, and unique here with the Rainmakers product that I think is going to stand the test of time, but will be interesting to see how you guys like achievements, what you guys think about, leaderboards, weekly collector score, things like that. If you want to play fantasy golf, there's, DFS to go play DFS. So I like the fact that they're adding some wrinkles here. There's other things to keep you engaged with the product with and to keep you thinking about. I'm looking for more Discord type contests or more golfer grouping type contests. We saw them do a Discord contest for group 3 and group 4 golfers only one week. They're doing a lot of breaks based on if your golfer is a bomber or a chipper or a greens reader. So I'm looking for more kind of unique contests like that where we've got our standard set of contests. There's smaller prize pools in these more unique contests, but there's another angle or game theory to kind of attack in terms of how to build your teams, what your collection looks like, how your collection is angled for some of these contests, things like that. So I don't know, interested in what you guys think about how they've done Rainmakers to date. There's still a ton of golf in front of us. I know that a lot of people may get upset they haven't won. Fantasy golf is hard. Number one, winning in fantasy golf is even harder. People are winning every week. It's just not the majority of people. It seems like DraftKings continues to make changes to the prize pools, continues to make changes in the contest types, which I like as well. So, I think in general, we've seen them iterate on this product more than I initially anticipated, which I think is a really, really positive use case for going forward. So the community means a ton. And it means a ton to me, means a ton to us. We'll pass along information that we have over to DraftKings. So we'd love to hear from you all if you're in Rainmakers, if you're having a good time, what you want to see, what improvements you like. A lot of people are clamoring about the 50/50s or the bankroll boosters. They've already made changes there for this week. We're only one major into the season. The playoffs are still many, many weeks away. I mean, the PGA Championship is the next major up. It's still 4+ weeks away. Excited for everything that is going to come over the course of the rest of the Rainmaker season. So head on over to our site, otmnft.com. Take a look at that pack page, see how your collection squares up against the field, build some lineups. We'll continue to look for functionality that makes it easier to build lineups, to move things and cards in and out of your lineups and make things easier on you as a collector. I know, myself, I've got 95 cards in my collection now, and it's already pretty challenging to kind of get things straight and organized. So, man, if it wasn't for our site, it would be even harder. So head on over there, connect your account. If you've got 400, 450, 500 plus cards, like a lot of Rainmakers players seemingly do, it can help you build your teams, put your lineups together, and then you're sort of just clicking the buttons on the DraftKings site to be able to enter those teams and make any final tweaks. So head on over and do that. Appreciate you guys listening, and I'll talk to you all next week. We will see you on the leaderboards. Hope the sweats this weekend go really well, and talk to you all on Monday with our recap and preview show as we march on in the golf season. Until then, catch you all in the Discord, and have a great weekend.